to go back in session and continue from last night. I just want to thank everyone. You know, we asked for public comment and public opinions, and we have been overwhelmed, as you can imagine, with emails and phone calls, and I'm sure social media too. And we asked for those opinions. And I appreciate all the positive, open-minded comments that we've gotten. I think one disservice maybe we have done is I want to clear up the definition of local. I think instead of saying local, we should have been saying internal candidate, because I think that's caused a lot of confusion. That's just, you know, us knowing what local means, but we should have said internal. You know, I have supported Christy Sutherland as internal candidate. I think she's committed to this educational system and prepared to do the job. And she's been at a disadvantage because of comments and things that have been brought up from all her years of service here in the system. So I want to believe that we all think we learn from our mistakes and grow, and that we can, you know, start with a clean slate and, you know, go by current situations and not the past. And I know we've heard a lot of comments and we've had questions about the morale in the schools, and we need somebody to build the morale. But to me, I think we choose whether we're positive or negative, and we need to be the change in that, or we need to lead the change. We don't need to put that responsibility on the director. I think it's up to each individual teacher, and the morale of this board, I think, is up to us, and we've got to do the right thing in everything that we do. Are there any other comments anyone wants to make? No comments? Do we want to just take a vote?
Let's see what happens. I move.
Have a motion to take a vote by Mr. Chadwick,
Second motion.
second by Mr. Parker. I had to think of your name. And we've been together a lot. That's pitiful, isn't it?
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Vanderbilt,
Yes.
Ms. Brogdon,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Mr. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Vanderbilt votes for Miles Hebron. Ms. Brogdon for Christy Sutherland. Mr. Haley for Christy Sutherland. Mr. Chadwick for Miles Hebron. Mr. Underwood for Christy Sutherland. Mr. Parker for Miles Eberhard. 3-3, tie.
Any comments? Well, it seems to me that we're deadlocked. And I think we're doing more harm than good going through this process because we're not getting anywhere. So I want to make a motion that we suspend the process and meet in a work session to discuss our options.
Question. I'm sorry, you got a motion, right? Need a second first.
Madam Chair, if you pull your motion back, can we have some discussion before that, before we make a motion on that?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, and I guess what I want to ask is, what would the process be? I mean, I hate to, I'm not saying that.
Well, one option is to go back and open it up for applications again.
I guess my question there is, if we have three of us deadlocked on three people, and those are who we really want, it takes four to make that decision.
What about the three? I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
If we
three.
have three people, and we got 3 and 3 that are dead set on a candidate, it takes 4 people to make the decision to start over. I don't know that we won't prolong everything. Trying to convince 3 people to turn a candidate down if that's who they truly want. Just food for thought.
Mr. Haley?
So I didn't give you a second on your motion because I had a question of clarity, but you said to suspend the process is almost a vote to me would be a vote to abandon. I think the process itself is working. It is complicated. It is bringing a lot of input. And while I do appreciate the input, I knew kind of what to expect being there before. And it's probably, it is a load. The biggest load of it was the 24-hour period, less than 24-hour period since we were here. Didn't even have time to cycle through. It's, well, I tried to return all I could and talk to all I could. 5 a.m. to bed from emails and up at 7:30 to do it again. It's been a long day and it just couldn't get done. But I don't see that that's changed a lot of my thinking. I think that for the reasons I spoke of yesterday, it does me no good to repeat them. Everybody here heard them and they're unchanged. I think the direction is going to boil down to the board. Whoever we get is going to boil down to the board uniting and working together to lead whoever is going to lead the system as a group effort. That's not going to change for me. And while it would appear to be a deadlock, and my question would be, is everyone here at that point where they don't see that making a different decision to help get the board moving where we can actually function to move forward with a director, it's going to be the next step, whether we reopen or not. So, some more time for the input. I don't need any more, but if somebody does, then I'm not going to not support that. I don't want to suspend it and abandon. There's been too much work done. I think starting a process over is going to produce the same thing. I think anybody that wanted to apply the opportunity, there were some that applied that were vetted, and we all saw that. And there were some that we brought together and we've debated at some point, one of us is going to have to say, I'm going to be on board to work the next step, and that's to help lead a leader, whoever it is. I do see Mr. Savard back here tonight, and I'm glad he came also, and Dr. Sutherland's back here also. But are you satisfied in your own skin at this point that you are deadlocked before you make that vote? If you feel like some more discussion may help you, then I'm okay with that. But if it's a wasted discussion, then I understand. I'd like to hear what everybody thinks about that before doing it.
I suppose my final comments are going to be, I had people say, why are you, Phil, I thought you were a smart guy. Why are you running for the board? And I said, well, this is the only job I've had. My first wife was a teacher for 45 years. 2 sons taught in here, one for just a half year, but I've got grandkids coming through the system. And I said, well, Joe and Aaron know machinery, trucks. We've discussed buses and trucks and farm tractors and things. And I said, Steve knows, real estate and buildings and so forth. And Kurt's a lawyer, and Sonia is a business. And I said, I wanted to do things for the teachers because I've been in that teacher spot for a long time. And we hadn't gotten a good raise and some things. And I have tried to do a couple of things to find out why people are leaving. Trying to make some additions to the HR exit form. And I kept pushing last spring that we need more money on that salary line for teachers. And we got that approved. And so we kind of fussed about, we had 23 new positions added during last administration tenure. And this is, what Dr. Sutherland said in her interview. She was ready to add 3 more, one assistant and a couple others. But all the time some of those positions were being added, teachers are being left out when it came to money for salaries because the central office was getting overloaded. And I have called some of the other surrounding boards, looked on their websites, and we're bigger than some are bigger than us. In terms of number of central office staff per student. But the part about local, we've hired teachers from even as far away as Massachusetts. We've hired coaches from out of county. So, that doesn't necessarily fly with me. I mean, I'm not local. I mean, I came from another county a long time ago, but it's, I still have a farm there and farm roots are still there. The part about the transition, when somebody's already a director, they've got the ins and outs already of what needs to be done or what should be done, as opposed to saying, it's got to have a time for a learning curve. And I too have gotten a lot of emails and phone calls and again, truthful. I've had more for one candidate than the other. I've had more for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I've had 38 for Dr. Hebert and 17 for Dr. Sullivan. And that's where I stand.
Any more comments about the next steps?
You got something that first, Mr. Chadwick, I hear your comments and you and I have had discussions our whole lives. So I hope I can be candid without coming across that I'm coming at you, because that's not what I'm doing. I just want to clarify the way this board member sees those positions. I think what a director, no matter which candidate were to come in, they're going to have visions that they're going to bring to the board. Their contract, our past contract and the future contract would, have provisions for the board to plan with the director. So while either would have visions, I don't know that the short time we spent with them, that vision that we can get is all encompassing. Nor do I think that any leader can give us an all encompassing director, whether it be positions, pay, or anything that has so many outstanding factors other than what they would like to see. No matter what's happened in the past, no one can create new positions but the board. Neither candidate can add a position unless we approve it. So I've heard candidates talk about different positions, and while they sound interesting, they can't do it without 4 of these 6 right here voting to do it. And they also can't transfer a vision into a system or anything that they are on the outside looking in. Even an internal candidate is only limited to what they do internal. If you've had 3 or 4 positions, you'd have more experience with that. But at the same time, there's budget factors. There's law factors. We have to pay it. The board has to pass the administrative diagram, for lack of better words, the chart for those positions. So there are means put in place by the law and by contract both that it is this board's decision. I too look at other systems. I look at 1 o'clock in the morning when I don't sleep. I'm sitting at a computer looking around, and when there's something in our system, I try to look at other systems and what they do. I look as far from East Tennessee to West Tennessee. I've been known to look at other states' ideas and try to study that. It's almost vast what options are available. But those options belong to the 6 board members. Today, it's these 6. Next year, it might be 6 different. It's ever evolving and ever changing and always will be. And those changes take place. It's our job to set the course. But I like to see this system over the past has always been a leader and not a follower. I too would agree that I hear the same thing as you do on the number of people. I would question how sometimes things happen that I'm responsible for, that I've been here, and I can try to work with a group to make that better. We got a good group that works together, and that's it's just ever evolving. So whether or not we need a position or not, our policy speaks about reduction of staff. If we feel like there needs to be a reduction in a program or staff, we have the ability to do that. But we also need to listen to whoever our director is, whoever it's going to be, that the procedures in place for that to take place. It can happen with an interim director. She can bring us a proposal on next year's budget. We may have to face issues in the budget that we don't know. ESSER money is going away. are we spending that money wisely to get the best, not for our teachers and not for our staff, but the kids? What programs do they need? I said that yesterday. I'm going to say it again today. One of the first calls I got was from a former teacher that I have great respect for, and said, please don't let the good programs go away. Evaluate, and don't just do it to be doing it. And I think that both of these candidates have indicated that they've got to get in and see what's working and what's not to bring those recommendations. But that's on us. That's on the board, whether it's now or a next board. It'll always be the board's responsibility until the legislature makes a change on that. So that is on us. I get probably the same emails. I would suspect that you probably get some that I don't get, and I suspect we all get different contacts, and we also get the ones that have all of our names on them, and that's okay too. But I do keep up with that. I keep up with what comes in, the phone calls, but I also think as a board member, an elected official, that my job is to hear what these people say, the ones that call. It's also to explain why I think maybe that might be right or might not be right. And sometimes, one I had yesterday said, I wasn't aware it worked that way. And when you explain how it works, then they have a different take sometimes. So while I do take a number, I don't take a poll and say, X amount said this, that's what I'm going to do, because they can do that at the ballot box. And they can do it. And I expect they're going to do it. And they should do it. I wish we had bigger turnouts. Look at the numbers that any elected official or local government has turned out when there's roughly 9,000 people in the districts I serve, roughly 4,500 in every district in this county. There's never been 9,000 voters in one of my elections. I can't tell you the number. There's never been more than 1,000. It's been a 3-digit number. So I've watched results locally from city to county. We all watch the state and the federal. The federal is beyond me. You know, I feel like my vote doesn't count there. But where I know it does count is my local official, county commissioner, city council, school board. Every vote counts and every voice is heard, whether I agree with them or not. I take those calls and those emails and I put together, knowing what I've learned being around the fine staff, the fine teachers, and largely those kids, what works for them. And it's my job to make the best decision based on the information from all sides. And I've got to sell that information to the teacher. I've got to sell it to the press, and I've got to sell it to the voter that's just interested. And that's just part of my job. My job is to sell it to the people or follow their direction from what they're selling me. It's the system's job to run it based on the policy, the budget, and the guidelines that we put out. But those decisions will always be on the board. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, and I'm just trying to listen to the people that call me too. So there we are.
I respect this.
Go ahead. Everything that you do. Oh, go ahead. Well, so just to address a little bit of Mr. Haley's comments, just maybe directly, and just to tell what we know, elections have consequences. It's the bottom line. As we sit here today, that's part of this. So, Madam Chair, I think our topic is kind of going all over the map. You asked the question about what do we want to do, where we want to go, and I think to Mr. Parker's comments, I think if we are deadlocked, then I think the question is, what would a work session look like? Would we be discussing these two candidates? Would we look? This board has spent tax dollars, $15,000 on TSBA's search. And so that search, they went about it. They were supposed to have done an intensive background check of all these candidates, and they all had references, and they were supposed to have called them and checked on those references. So there are other candidates out there. They said they could return additional selection. So that, are we talking about bringing other candidates back in from what TSBA had proposed to us? Someone suggested to me, well, maybe we need to wait till after the election for this to occur. So I know we had some dialogue about today in an email about availability of someone to sit as an interim. So I guess there's a lot of topics here to potentially talk about at a work session. So I guess it needs to be either, and we're here tonight at 6:30 on Groundhog's Day. So I mean, we probably need to make the most of it. You asked the question, Mr. Haley, or posed the thought, do we need, if other folks need discussion, you're good with it, you don't. I'm happy to continue discussing. Do I need additional information? Additional information is always good, but I'm ready and prepared to make a decision. That answers the question. So with all that being said, I don't mean to ramble either. I guess I am rambling, but to me, we need to hone in on what a work session looks like. And does it consist of us discussing these two candidates more? Or are we going to move on to a different set of candidates from the TSBA? Or are we just going to put it out for bid again? So I'm just talking about options. I'm not proposing any of them. That's kind of some things I see.
I feel like we're here. I feel like this is a special sessions continued from yesterday. I feel like we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, whatever the chair allows us to speak about. And if we're going to speak about what that work session is going to look like, then we just speak about what we're going to speak about in that work session right here. And we can still vote if we come to a conclusion. Because it is only 6:30. We've got at least 5 more hours, right?
That's many days you want to.
I can give you a little reference about my day. I was actually looking forward to the day and kind of seeing where things fall. You know, we live in a constitutional republic, and that means we as elected officials listen to the people that have put us here, and we are to do our jobs in that fashion, remembering those that, as Kirk said, has put us here. You know, when I get emails, and I got a lot of them today, and as soon as I start reading them, I can kind of tell they've got a certain pattern to them. But if I get an email or a text from somebody that's anonymous, I'm sorry, I have to put it to the side. I'm not going to listen to that. If you want to call and you want to give me a name or give me an example or give me your thoughts, I'm not going to do it. If you want to do that, put your name down. I think that's the only way to come out. And can I share something from DC EA that I got this morning? Would you mind, Miss Madden? You don't mind? I've got a text from Miss Madden, and DCEA is for Miss Christie. That goes into my mind. That's important that our teachers are behind a potential director. There is a post on Facebook, and it's actually a poll, if you will. It's from DCTV. And they put it out to the public early. So, hey, public, where you at? And 82% this morning had Miss Christie as favored. And this afternoon around 4, from what I understand, it was at 80%. So those that have weighed in, that have thought enough to vote on that, and keep in mind, those votes, you can look who voted for what in those polls on Facebook. You can tell who voted. And so they put their name to it. That's important to me. I will continue to represent the public, and because of the vast majority of texts, phone calls, emails from anybody from a county official to a parent of a 3-year-old that talks about having Miss Christie as a teacher back in the day. I will continue because of that to support her. And I asked that the board, I'm sure you've done your due diligence. I know, Mr. Chadwick, you had some problems with her. I hope that you've talked with her and maybe got some type of resolution for that. But I want to ask the board to get on board with our constituents. And let's stop this gridlock. It's not good for the school. It's not good for anybody. And let's hire Miss Christie. Thank you.
May I reply to that? All of my emails have had names on them. You know.
I'm just telling you how I do it.
Mr. Underwood, I agree with you. Gridlock is not good, but like Mr. Chadwick has said, we all have received emails. This poll you speak of, I'm not aware of it. Nobody has brought it to my attention, so that's news to me.
Be glad to.
Sure. Information like that would be good to share. But however, the folks that I have had communications with, received emails from, it was about a 5-1. So we all have different experiences, apparently. Have no reason to call out names, but names were attached to them. And some of those folks I know specifically. And some of them I know they're credible. Absolutely. So it's both ways. The folks, the ones that both ways. So to say, come on and get on board, I would say the same thing, because we've got someone that has a tremendous amount of experience. If we're going to get back into debating the candidates, I'm fine to do that. We've got someone that's is a director of schools, been a principal, led a special education program in a huge high school. So we can get into that leadership argument. And like I said, I'm fine doing that. But so come on and get on board. Let's end the gridlock. That's what the majority of my folks that I hear from have said. But you're right. We are a representative form of government. We've got to do what we think is in the best interest of the system ourselves, individually. So that's where I am. It's nothing. I spoke to someone, and I guess for these candidates, it is very personal, and I get that. It is not meant to be personal, but there's no other way, I guess, for them to take it. So, but certainly, we obviously have a disagreement, difference of opinion.
I certainly respect DCEA, backing her. I was president of DCEA the 5th year I taught school, and I understand, the importance of the unity there. How was this poll advertised, or what? I mean, who put it out?
DC TV put it out on Facebook.
Whom does it go to?
Are you talking about the DC?
The
You're talking about the Facebook one.
the poll that he was referring to 80% to.
Facebook. Dickson County TV, I think it's called.
Just for clarity,
Sure.
this was a Facebook poll,
A social media.
a social
Social
media
media-
poll.
social
Okay,
media
okay, got it. Just wanted to clarify.
Miss Madden, do you want to speak on the DC?
If I may, I want to clarify what I said. We were based on the teachers and staff certified and non-certified who talked to me. No, I did not keep a count. It was not an official poll, it's just the people who called. I was up to 1 o'clock this morning dealing with texts, just probably like you guys. That's my role, but it's not an official DCA poll. I want to make that clear, please.
Thank you, Miss Madden.
Yeah, no, this DCTV doesn't have anything to do with the Dickson County. Yeah, this is just a Facebook poll with the DCTV network here, and it's a local here in TV, Dickson. Yeah.
That's something judgment for like that.
I haven't had time to look at the poll or see social media, which is pretty rare today, but I asked for the recess to get public time to talk, and they kept me busy today. They didn't include looking what they did, but I did get someone sent it to me and showed. But I think, and I'm probably interjecting on what they did, but there was a lot of discussion about, or has been days previous about the public having who votes for directors. Well, it's always an educational thing. Why does the board pick? We discussed that yesterday. Why can't we pick? Why can't teachers pick? Why can't kids pick? You know, there's so many different angles of lack of understanding even what a school board does. But we are elected by the people. We are picked to do a job. And I think they took those comments and said, you know, what's crowdsourcing more of an information than social media? Simple question. You know, which do you prefer? Not word exactly like that, but it was a one-liner. And that's where people make the votes from. So they are people with a social media account that made that poll. And I have screenshots sent to me. I hadn't been able to look at, but there was 100 or so, 150 responses on it. It wasn't 2 or 3. It was a sampling. And it just showed the percentage of the ones that had a preference on the candidate. So just a little clarity what I saw it was anyway. I think it came about with innocent means by all means, because the people wanted to say something, and it was interesting to look at anyway.
So where do we want to go? We can sit and talk all night, but what questions do you have?
I mean, we take a short recess.
Okay. Recess, please. session. And we have been overwhelmed. Sorry.
Hit play instead of.
I hit play instead of record.
They call it automatically, it'll kill you.
At least it wasn't a ball game, huh?
I resemble that.
Any other comments? Do we want to get with Dr. McCord to see if she can continue as interim? Open up applications again? If we do that, we have to have it, everything done before June 14th,
June 17th,
June 17th, because of
45
election.
days before the June election.
So that, ma'am,
Yes,
that opens up more complications. And if I speak of some, Dr. McCord, that aren't correct, let me know. But I'm not going to try to call dates. But that date, from an election standpoint, while it does create an issue, there's also a date that a director can't make appointments for next year. There's a fail-safe date for that. Is it June 15th, July 15th? It's one of the two. But you're getting close to a date where even a new director can't make permanent positions for next year. And that really is a tight timeline. While I realize that we are at a point where it would appear to be a stalemate, agree or disagree, our first discussion was started less than 24 hours ago. It was a nice break overnight. Whole hour and a half of sleep just to get up and do it again. I think my intent for recess was to kind of absorb what we did yesterday, some of our discussion, what I heard y'all say. Hope you'd absorb what I said, to kind of review some of that, maybe to appoint some clarity. And I knew he'd bring out public information. I would rather have done it sometime next week to give time for that, because I've had time to answer the phone. I don't know that I've had a chance to even look back and see what was discussed yesterday. Just what I remember, the old way, it was fine. Nothing to look back on the video. But if we can't get a vote together tonight, I don't want to throw it away yet. I don't want to say open back up, because we're 3 months in. We have spent good money. Looking around other systems that have hired, they've all had a very low number of applications. A director's position would be no different than a teacher's position or any other job. There's going to be less candidates. Quite frankly, blessed both of you for being here, and the two that applied that didn't make the final two for desiring for that, because I think we having a total of 9/10 down to 4/5, down to 2, the slash being the one that removed herself. I think we had a large number, comparatively speaking, to what I've seen other counties that have had. Counties that pay 200,000 plus, bigger systems. They may not have as much interest, but they run the same issue we do. When you watch another county do it, they have a former internal, a current internal, external. They had very few candidates. We had a lot. We were fortunate. I truly believe that if you opened it back up today, that you are sending the wrong message, and you're not going to pick up a silver bullet to make any difference. It's going to boil down to, what do we need time to go over, study, and whether it's hear from the public, or whether it's study what we've talked about, or whether it's to come back and recess twice a week for 2 weeks, whatever that takes, that's our job. And I don't think opening it back up is going to create anything except a long break to do it again. And we would be fortunate if these folks even tried again. Why would they want to? I think we've got to do our work, whether we need more time to do that, whether we need some time to absorb or to review our duties as we've all been trained to do, whether that's tomorrow, that's not a serious comment, or whether it's 2 weeks. I don't think abandoning what we have done is going to produce a positive effect. I think it will produce just the opposite. It would be a negative effect. Then where are we going to be then? If this group is not ready to come together, whether it be myself changing my views or someone else, until we do the work needed to realize the work starts the day after a contract instead of the day before, it's not going to make any difference. I'd rather take, if time's what we need, just to have a day where you can get caught up, and maybe a day where not a lot comes in so you can study up and reabsorb. If it takes another week or another 10 days, if we need to come back, if that's where we're at, I would rather go that direction than to abandon. Abandon's not going to be an outcome that's going to benefit us. Is it an option? Absolutely. Is it going to be beneficial? I think it's going to be detrimental. So while I can see not ready, whether it's me, you, or someone else, we're going to have to do some soul searching and studying our work and what we've got to do. Whether it's the people talking to us, whether it's talking to yourself, whether it's another good snow week where you can really just kind of absorb it, whatever it takes, I would rather exhaust that first.
Vandervoort?
Madam Chair, so just to address a little bit, Mr. Haley, we had a number of candidates, so, and that's what we paid for. So when you say open it back up, they're going to take from those candidates and sure, see if they are interested. And they will send us a new slate of candidates if we so choose to go that way. So I'm not overly concerned about that, to your point of, so I don't really see it as a quote waste of time. I guess the question is, are we at a stalemate, a deadlock? Are we going to change our minds? And I said earlier, sure, we can discuss it. If you all want to discuss it, we can discuss it. I don't know that that's going to change my mind. And that's kind of where I am. But that's me. I'm one to vote here. There are others that may need more time. If that's what the board decides to do, that's fine. But we can exercise that 2, 4, 6 week time period and have lost that time as well. So that's why I think it's good that Mr. Parker brought up. Let's have this discussion about what this is, the work session. Let's discuss what that looks like. These folks they've put their heart and soul into preparing, and I understand that and get that. But if we're going to keep, having the same result, I think that's going to be problematic. But if you're asking for more time, and it sounds like you are, I don't know. But I think we've got to come to some consensus. It doesn't appear that's going to happen with these candidates, at least not right now. So moving forward, what are the options? And that's what we've been talking about. So,
I don't disagree with you. I think probably the terminology of opening back up versus if there's something else that our consultant has out there, that's one thing. But I think saying opening back up is starting a process that is going to erase the work we've done to this point.
may I ask how so?
Yes. I think if we say we can't come to a consensus after 24 hours of discussion, and that's what it's been, while we've done a lot of work individually, and we have these thoughts in our heads individually, we've had a 24-hour period for a board to have discussion. That overnight didn't give me time to even look back on what we discussed yesterday, because returning emails, returning phone calls, to the point, my story was no different than ones I talked to, but I don't actually know which ones I've called back without getting the list out. And I'm going to be spending the next day apologizing to the ones for not getting them before I got here today.
Is that going to change?
Yeah, well, and that's my point. I don't think it's going to change anything to open back up. I think we have to find candidates. I think we've got to do all we can to exhaust the means to settle on one before saying, bring us something else.
So you want more time to process what came in today?
I'd rather have more time than I would say open it back up myself.
When we're talking about opening it back up, again, we're not opening it back up to the world of candidates. We have a slate of, I think it was 8 to 10 candidates, and it would be those that did not get recommended, because they are the folks that applied. They would come and they would recommend additional candidates. So again, not saying I'm absolutely for that. I'm just talking about that is an option. So, but we're not opening it back up to the world that I know of, unless this board decides to do that. But again, we've paid $15,000. I think we ought to see who is interested on that. If we go that route, see who's interested within those persons that apply.
So, and I can't disagree with that by any means. I think looking at the candidates that were on the list, reviewing that again might be an option. I understand when you say open back up or suspend what we're doing, that we're setting aside and we're taking applications again or open for other outside. Obviously, the ones that were there to begin with, any interested candidates, I could live with that by far more than what I would call opening it up. I think opening it up is they start over it, and I don't think we're ready for that yet. Whenever we put Dr. McCord in as interim, I think there was discussion of days, and initially I think it was even first talked about might be the middle of February before we had it worked out, was the initial plan, and we as a board chose February 1st as a target date. It wasn't a have to, and we knew we had some days built in. So I think there are days built in for us to continue what we need to do to exhaust what we need to exhaust within what we've paid for and have in front of us. Whether it be the candidates they didn't give us, I include that in there. Include that in not opening it up. It's already there. Just looking at those, we need to bring some of those forward.
Well,
That'll be a discussion item.
Before you go that far to the rest of the board, would more time be beneficial to review what's happened in the last 24 hours? That's the first question we have to answer before we go farther. I mean, I know I haven't got to talk to everyone because of everything all coming in today.
My answer to you is yes. I think it would make a difference. I would rather go into next week to begin with. I'm glad we're here tonight, but I think it didn't work. It produced more information not received.
Sorry for ruining Groundhog's Day.
Well, we can call it.
So do you want to pick a day next week or the week after? To come back and discuss it after you've had time to review all the information that was sent today?
Yes.
I'm sure we could just consider regular board meeting would be in 3 weeks. 22nd. My issue is finding dates.
I
I think the regular board meeting's fine. I don't think it's too far out. I think it should be more than sufficient and gives a lot of time for that. It's a lot we talked about a lot yesterday. I heard a lot from all of you yesterday. I would love to watch that YouTube back 2 or 3 times. I think it'd be beneficial, but it would allow time for that. And I do agree the regular board meeting may be the way to go. We're still well within the dates available, and it would also get some time to know what those options would be if it looked different. So.
We're sitting here at a stalemate, a 3-3 vote. This is the first 3-3 vote that I've been on since I've been on board. 3-3 is always a losing vote. It's never a tie unless this in particular situation. The reason that we're at a 3-3 vote is because we do have two excellent candidates. I guess I would like to, and this is nothing more than a comment. I'm good with whatever timeline or whatever y'all want to go with. I'm okay with. Time would help. I would just like to re-innovate to the people that, other than me voting against a few things I just didn't like, most of the time Mr. Board agrees on everything. And it's not, I don't want to give the wrong impression to anybody that we're not all moving in the same direction, regardless of the candidate that's voted in. I think we all have the same view on the direction that we want the school system to move in. And I think that the director that is appointed by this board is going to move in the direction that the board wants to move in. And I guess I just want to put out a little clarity that even though we're back and forth and discussing and not coming to agreement, it's the first time in a year and a half that we've never come to a good agreement. Nothing has ever went really 3-3 and nothing get passed, and you see boards across, and we go to these conventions and talk to boards that can't pass nothing because they're here and there. And I think, boy, I'd be glad I'm not on a board like that. And we're not. We always pass everything and come to agreement. I think our views and the direction that we want to move this district are the same. And I guess I just want to reiterate that to the public. This is not arguing. I don't feel like we're arguing. This is discussion. And even though we have a different view of the candidate, no matter what, I feel like our view is going to push that candidate in the direction that this board wants to go. That's just a reiteration comment of a little bit of, I guess, confidence in us to make the right decision. Hard decision. People said, and I all of us got all the things, stand your ground, do what you do this one, do that one, don't like this and don't like that one. That's what they all were. It was a whole lot of that at one time. And it's hard to take it all in. It's hard to take it all in. I was telling somebody earlier that I did read all the emails. I didn't have a chance to respond to all of them because there just wasn't enough time in the day. Literally not enough time in the day to do all that. So I'm good with time. I'd hate to hijack our regular meeting because I don't know how long the next one's going to take. Our regular meetings are going to be a good hour, and I don't know if we got enough time to get in there on that. But that's just my thoughts.
Somebody else needs to go first. I don't want to absorb the time, so y'all feel free to say, wait your turn. I don't mind. But I do want to add what Mr. Parker said. We've had some 3-3s before, but the difference in this 3-3 versus a motion, a second, and a 3-3, that fails. This is a polling of the board. So a 3-3 doesn't fail anything. It is a polling to extend a contract. So that's why it's not a motion. It doesn't fail. I think prior to this, the last one that I recall, well, there's been a couple of them over the past 3 or 4 years, but they're typically an issue that doesn't generate a 4 board member support. So therefore it fails. So your question last night was correct. If it fails, how does it come back up? Well, it's not a motion, it's a poll. That's the difference. I do want to hijack a minute at a time just to speak to the public. Largely, there's a lot of listeners yesterday, and one thing I noticed that the public looks at the board like it's a failing operation, but it's actually succeeding because it's creating discussion amongst us. But it generated less than 24 hours ago. It's not something that's been going on for 3 months. The process has been going on that long, but the discussion is less than 24 hours. And sometimes it takes time to hear that after the discussion. There, it creates more discussion. So I want to agree with you. Let the public know the process is working. It's we have a 6-person board. It takes 4 or 6 to pass something for a reason, and some say, well, we should add a 7th board member to break a tie. Now, that in itself, is an option, but it goes down to district zoning and laws that set that up. But when we're at a 3-3, it should create more discussion and more information and more work to come to the consensus that we should come to. So a 6-person board is a good thing, in my opinion. I remember being younger, my granddad was on the board, and there was 12. And I like to talk. Divine with 12 would be rough. It's hard enough with 6. So, the 6 works. Some seem to believe that it's a tie on something else, that a director makes a tie vote. Not true. The director never gets a vote on the school board. And I think some of the questions were, since Dr. McCord's an interim, she doesn't get to break that tie. A director never breaks a tie. The board must come to a consensus or continue its work. That's our duty. That's what we're here for. And we can only discuss and operate in a public setting less than 24 hours in a total of, we just spent 12 hours here last night, roughly. We got 5-6 hours of discussion. So it's really a minute amount on the tail end of a lot of work, and it might need some more, but just some clarity for those listening of why it works that way.
So let's pick a date.
I said if at the regular board meeting, I do agree it may overload, and if it does, it can either be recessed or it can be scheduled at that point. That's just my take on it.
Got that date open.
I hope you do.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. So we're gonna reconvene on this topic. We're gonna add this topic to the agenda for the February 22nd.
We might want to have this as a special session instead of
Instead
at the regular session, but have them back to back. So
Okay.
we'd have 2 agendas.
May I
Yes.
we just recess this until
Yeah, we could recess it
just
to,
recess it until
The end of the board meeting.
end of the board meeting.
so we'd have to move to recess and then just vote on the motion to recess. If that's the will of the board.
Is that Mr. Chadwick?
Yeah.
You're okay with that? I didn't know if you had something to say.
No.
So we want to move to recess this to the end of the February 22nd board meeting. Is that correct?
If it's good with y'all, it's good with me. I know scheduling's issues, so it's.
I'm good with that date. If I
Okay. Move we adjourn, or we have?
No, we need to
Gotta
vote.
vote on it.
Do I have a second?
It hasn't been seconded.
well, I'm not making a motion. I'm just that's the date I'm available. If we were going to have to select a date.
So I'll make a motion that we recess this to the end of the board meeting. Pick it back up at the end of the board meeting on February the 22nd.
Who was the second? Mr. Andrew?
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Vandervoort,
Yes.
Ms. Brogdon,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Mr. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.